Keeping governments open and transparent is the focus of a symposium today at Austin City Hall, and one of the panelists is here with us this morning, Mike Kanan with the Austin Monitor, joining us here in studio. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And this is a symposium that's hosted by the City of Austin Law Department. You've had the opportunity to work with governments in Washington, D.C., Boston, and now here in Austin. How do we compare to some other major cities?
You know, I gotta say, it's a pleasure doing business with the City of Austin's government. And for the most part, I mean, you know, there are always little hiccups, and everybody gets a little nervous whenever you submit one of these things, a public information request, which is sort of the meat of how we do our investigative stuff. But you know, for example, in D.C., it could take them up to 6 months to respond to FOIA.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was quite a mess. Yeah.
Wow. So, how important is to have this open and transparent city government?
Important from a lot of different from a lot of different angles. You know, of course, for them to be responsive to our requests when we're looking for information, it keeps us going in terms of, you know, reporting in a timely fashion, making sure that there's somebody watching over what government's doing, of course, which is the role of what we do. Our role as journalists, and I think that making sure that the system is well oiled is a critical sort of component of I would go as far to say democracy. Is
it too early to tell if Mayor Steve Adler and the new city council is going to be open and transparent, or have you gotten a good feel from them already?
You know, I got to say, everybody I think always tries to do their best with this stuff. I really do think I think maybe more optimistically than some of my colleagues, but you know, I think a lot of it comes from the law department, which is why I think they're sort of manning the front here. They're responsible for responding to requests when they get a little dicey, and it's their responsibility sort of to be fair and even-handed about it. And like I said at the top, you know, generally they are. Though I will say, we did once get a response that asked us for $1 million to handle a public information request, and that ended up
in jest, or were they serious?
No, they were serious, and we of course could not afford $1 million. We ended up, I think it was a little bit of nervousness. I'll tell this story on the panel today. There was a little bit of nervousness from the city and about the workload involved from what we requested, and we sort of got to a place where we could get, you know, it eventually whittled down to 800. So I think that that was a reasonable solution.
So compared to, say, the Lee, Leffingwell, Will Wynn era, were they open and transparent?
I can't talk much about Will Wynn because I wasn't here, but certainly, you know, with the mayor, you know, one thing to remember is that the law department's technically under the city manager's office, and that's a bureaucratic note, but it's also important because it maintains this sort of continuity with how they deal with, for instance, the press.
Right.
And so, you know, I think that generally there's been an even level of openness going back through, I would imagine, quite a while.
Interesting that the architect of City Hall will tell you that the windows, the big windows on the outside of the chambers, are there to represent the transparency.
I didn't know that.
in city government. Yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah.
Mike Kanan with the Austin Monitor will be one of the panelists at today's symposium on openness and transparency in city government. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, we'll be right back.